services, talking about Power of Choice and kind of what parents can do. So as I load,
Thank you. Well, thanks for being here. I know it's a night that takes you away from your families, but hopefully you come away with some information that's helpful as you parent your young people. I am Dawn Nealon. I am a certified prevention specialist, and I work at 360 Youth Services. We coordinate the Power of Choice prevention programs that run in all of the junior high, middle schools, and high schools in districts 203 and 204. Our high school program's been going on since 2003. We got our grant extended a few years ago, and we have been able to provide programming in the junior high schools and middle schools since 2013. So this is our 5th year in the middle schools, and the program looks a little bit different here, and I'm going to explain a little bit about that. But the Power of Choice is one component in a whole series of programs that are designed to help our kids have a healthy future. It's a substance abuse prevention program, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. Our kids get a lot of programming in the school through their health classes, through some information that they get from our SROs. There are lots of different components. This is just one of those components. So the Power of Choice campaign is a primary substance abuse prevention project that's evidence-based, which means we use data, data-driven and cost-effective. We use programming that's been proven through science and research to be effective for the age groups that we serve. We use a communications campaign with our students. It's actually just a media campaign. We use promotional materials, just like advertisers do, that help us to change knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors. So we are teaching through a media campaign at the middle schools and at the high schools. So these are the goals of the Power of Choice. The first goal is to increase personal disapproval of alcohol and drug use for 6th to 12th graders. When an individual sees an activity as unappealing or they have personal disapproval for that activity, they are less likely to engage in that activity. So when we help our students to see that using substances is something that they don't want to engage in, they're less likely to engage in it. So we try to increase their personal disapproval. We also want to increase their perceived risk of harm. If we see an activity as being harmful to our health or to our future, we are less likely to engage in that behavior. So we want kids to understand the risks that are involved with substance use. Delay age of first use is a huge goal of ours. All of the research shows that the longer we can delay that first use of alcohol or any other drug, the less likely an individual is to struggle with that substance later in life. 80% of adults who struggle with alcohol or other drugs report that they started using that drug before they were 18. So the longer we can push off that first use, the less likely our young people will be to struggle with those substances later in life. And obviously we want to increase the number of alcohol and drug-free students in our schools. The focus of this project, of the Power of Choice, is to support the youth that are currently making healthy choices and to grow those numbers. But we don't want to ignore the fact that some kids are struggling with alcohol and other drugs. And we are not trying to ignore that or brush that under the carpet. We want to acknowledge that, and we want to direct those students to the help that they need. This campaign is not geared toward those students. It's a continuum of care, a continuum of health. We're at the end where we're trying to grow the number of students that are alcohol and drug free. And then we help to get people to the resources that they need if they're somewhere else on that spectrum. The work that we do is a collaboration. We are not in this alone. We collaborate with both districts 203 and 204. The administration at both schools, at the administrative level, are very supportive of the work that we do, and we work in conjunction with them. We work with all of them. This is the 6th to 8th grade campaign, so all of the middle schools and junior high schools have representatives. Mrs. Markwell is one of our representatives from here at Washington. We also are funded by SAMHSA, and the Department of Human Services in the state of Illinois. And yes, we are funded. Yay! And parents. Parents are also part of our collaboration. All of you are part of our collaborative group. So the power of choice at this level, at the 6th to 8th grade level, really doesn't talk about drugs or alcohol at all. We are all about building skills. We're about building skills of resilience and responsibility. This year is the year of responsibility. So all of our posters and all of our materials talk about an area of responsibility, because when someone displays skills of responsibility, they're going to use that responsibility in a healthy way. So the research tells us that when we grow those skills, then we're helping the individual to become more resilient and more likely to make healthy choices. We're actually empowering them to make healthy choices. So that's why we're the power of choice. For the students, we have a lot of different ways we reach them. We use posters and power surges. Each month there's a new message. Posters are all around. And power surges are a little bit smaller. They're like a newsletter size. And we put those in areas where students might have more time to read them, like in the Learning Commons, or near a water fountain, or near the washroom, or in the locker room, places where there's a little bit more information. This year we talk about personal goals, being responsible with our personal goals. When we empower our children to create their own goals and strive toward those goals, they're going to be making healthier choices. We also meet with the students a couple of times a year in the cafeteria to get their feedback about our materials, but also to do interactive activities with them. We create bulletin boards about one of the topics we might be working on during the year. We go to all 12 of the junior high schools and meet with the students in the cafeteria during their lunchtime. They also have messages in their student planners. It's one page, but it's there all year so that they're able to see and be reminded of the message, the theme for the year. We also have student lessons that are available to the teachers and the counselors and the social workers that are social emotional learning lessons that revolve around the themes for each month. Each month there's a new theme, and there's a lesson that helps to strengthen those skills. We do student presentations. We've been here at Washington for a lot of years. Do you guys still have the REACH?
We do.
So we presented to the REACH group before school for the last long time. My kids went to Washington. I'm a Washington mom. My last child left here 10 years ago, so I'm an old Washington mom. But we've been presenting to the REACH groups for a very long time. I mentioned that we're data-driven. Our data has to come from somewhere, and it comes from the Illinois Youth Survey. The Illinois Youth Survey is a statewide survey that's been tested and validated. It's a evidence-based tool that is used throughout the state. We administer the survey to the 8th graders and all of the high school students in both districts. We use that data in a combined way. We get what we call a community report. We don't get reports on individual schools. We get a report on our community as a whole, all the 8th graders, all the high school students. And the reason is we recognize that the students in our community interact with people, with their peers from other schools pretty regularly. And we wanted a snapshot of what the whole community looks like. So we use those numbers from the Illinois Youth Survey. It is administered every other year in the spring. This year is a survey year. So this spring we'll be surveying all of the 8th graders here. And we use that data to help drive our campaign, to help us make decisions about what we're going to focus on so that we can see improvements in behavior. The campaign, the first year that we surveyed 8th grade students in this community was 2012. And one of the alcohol questions we ask is, in the past 30 days, have you used alcohol? 91% of our 8th graders said that they were alcohol-free. Yay! And at this point in 2016, we had just been in the schools for 3.5 years, and we'd already seen an improvement in the number of alcohol-free students. So we're pretty excited about that. At the high school, I know you're all junior high parents, and it seems for some of you that high school is very far away, but it's not. So I'm going to just give you a quick overview of what our high school program looks like. At the high school, we run what we call a social norms marketing campaign, which means we correct misperceptions. There is a perception in the world that a whole lot of high school students are drinking and doing drugs. That comes from television and Hollywood, doesn't come from the real world. We survey the high school students and we get the numbers, and we actually put the numbers on the posters of the number of students that are alcohol and marijuana free. Because science tells us that our behaviors are influenced by our perceptions. If someone has an incorrect perception, if they truly think that most high school students are drinking, which is wrong, but if they think that, they're more likely to engage in that behavior. But if we give them the facts that most high school students, more than 80%, are choosing to be alcohol-free, that perception, that corrected perception, helps them to make healthier choices. Again, we're collaborative at the high school level. All 5 high schools in both districts are involved in our campaign, as well as the district level administration and statewide organizations. These are the posters for this year. As you can see, each one has a different statistic. Those come from that Illinois Youth Survey. These are posters for this year. We'll be getting new data this spring because we'll be re-administering the survey and hopefully even more amazing numbers. At the high school, we have something called a stall street journal because we put them in the bathroom stalls. And there's more information about the topics so the kids have time to read there. We chose not to use stall street journals at the junior high because when we focus grouped that idea, they were appalled that we would put something in the bathroom that they were supposed to read. No, you can't do that, so we have power surges here. But this is the same concept. At the high school, we also have messages in the student planners as well. We run, they have TV monitors around the school, and we run videos, informational videos with a lot of those same statistics, so they can see those as they're in the hallways or in the cafeterias. We meet with them in the lunchroom. There's one of our police officers that's part of our team. At the high school, we give them Laffy Taffy candies with little stickers on them that also have messaging around our campaign. We put up banners at the high school football and basketball games. We do classroom presentations. In District 203, we present to the freshman link crew, which is the freshman information classes. In District 204, we present to the sophomore health classes. It's the same information, it's just different structures in the schools. In April, the whole community participates in a positive messaging campaign on their school marquees. Washington is really great about putting their message out here in Washington about kids making healthy choices, positive choices. We want to help the community understand that fact. In the high school, as I said, we've been going a little bit longer, and these are some of the numbers that from our high school campaign. When we first started in 2003, started surveying, 66% of our high school students reported being alcohol-free in the previous 30 days. And the last time we surveyed in 2016, that number was up to 81%. So a 15% shift in the number of alcohol-free kids is pretty exciting numbers. We also survey the kids about the reasons they choose not to drink, because we want to reinforce those reasons. Parents are a big reason they choose not to drink. 75% of them said, I don't want to get in trouble with my parents. That's a good thing. They should know they're going to get in trouble if they use substances. I don't want to disappoint their parents. They really do care what their parents think. Parents tend to think, especially parents of high school students think, they don't really care what I think. They're not listening to me anyway. They really are. This is an anonymous survey, and they told us 77% of them said they don't want to disappoint their parents. That's why they choose to make those healthy choices. I don't want to deal with the legal consequences. It's important that they understand that there are legal consequences to using and that they know what those are. And I don't want to jeopardize my future plans. We did a presentation to a parent group not long ago, and a mom raised her hand and she said, my son went to a party after homecoming and he came home. He was home really fast. And I asked what was wrong, how come he was home so fast, and she said, these were his exact words. Mom, there were some kids drinking at the party, and I didn't want to jeopardize my future plans. She said, those are not his words, but you gave him those words. We put those on a poster. So we help them to understand that there are consequences, and that's a good reason not to drink. We have a website, PowerofChoice.info, that is packed with information for parents and for students. We have newsletters, like the ones that are in the back of the room. We have something called Party Guidelines, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We have data. Every time we do a survey, we update the data on our website so you can see what that looks like at both the 8th grade level and the high school level. We have resources. Sometimes parents, it seems like the time parents have to think about how do I get information and where do I look is after everybody's gone to bed and it's late at night and you can't call anybody then. Our resource pages have lots and lots of validated resources where you can be educated about different substances, tips for how to talk to your kids, resources if you think your child might be struggling or using a substance, how can you find out, where can you go for help? Those kinds of things are on our resource page. As I said, we have newsletters each month. Power of Choice Parents Use Your Power newsletter will come to you through your school email, both at the junior high level and at the high school level. They're different newsletters because the kids are going through different phases of their lives. The newsletters are designed to educate parents about certain topics. We've had a couple of high school newsletters recently talking about the subject of marijuana. It's important that people are educated around that, especially with all the legalization going on. And our kids saying, but I know and I saw. It's important for parents to be educated. At this level, each month, the parents' newsletter coincides with the topic that the students are learning about this each month with the Power of Choice campaign in the school. So in November, we talked about decision making and the importance of decision making. December is about emotional awareness, which is, I think, an often overlooked concept. Our kids are in the point of their brain development where their emotions are in control. You might have seen that on display. But they don't really recognize it because they're so smart and they're taking apart computers and going on the internet and learning all these things that they really aren't even in touch with their emotions. So helping you to help them navigate their emotions is an important part of where they are now. We've heard from parents who read our newsletters who said, this is really great information, but how do I have these conversations? How do I talk to my kids so it doesn't feel like I'm interrogating them? So we developed Power Talk for Families. Each month there's an activity that coincides with the topic of the month, and it's a way to have the conversation. Sometimes it's just a series of questions that you can ask the whole family, like even the parents have to answer the questions. Sometimes it's an interactive activity. Later this year, there's going to be a month we focus on social media because it's really an important thing that parents and kids need to be involved with together. And the Power Talk is, I think it's called something like extraterrestrials have landed or something, and you're supposed to pretend that you just landed from another planet, and your kids have to explain to you what the internet is and what all the apps on their phone are. So it's a way for you to have a conversation with your child and have them explain the apps to you so that you can first see what they think the app does. Because sometimes they might have a misunderstanding. And then that's a way to have a conversation without an interrogation. This is a very popular brochure. It's both electronically on our website, and we have some copies back there. Guidelines for hosting parties in the law. We worked in conjunction with the Naperville Police Department to develop this brochure, and it has the actual local and state ordinances regarding hosting parties. There's responsibility for parents, whether you're there or not, if someone is using alcohol or other substances in your home. There are laws around curfew. That information is in the brochure. We've had parents actually hand the brochure to their kids and say, it's not me who says you have to be home at this time, it's the law. So it's important for our kids to know that, and sometimes we don't know what those are. So those are in that brochure. We have podcasts. They're between 5 and 10 minutes each, and it's just a little extra piece of information you can listen to get some more encouragement.
That's through the website?
That is also on the website. It's called Parenting Strong, and there's lots of different pages you can find it to click on. And I want to encourage you to communicate with your kids. Research says that kids who learn about alcohol and other drugs from their parents are 50% less likely to use. They need to hear it from you. They hear it from us, they hear it from the school, they hear it in their health class. They also need to hear it from you. And they need to hear it not just once. As I said, when my kids were younger, I had the one and done conversation. Our family doesn't believe in underage drinking. You will not drink. End of conversation. Except that's not the end of the conversation. Because when you have that conversation with a 6th grader, when they become an 8th grader, all of a sudden they think they're a different person. And that conversation doesn't apply to me anymore. So that conversation needs to be ongoing. It needs to be age appropriate. We have lots of resources on our website about how to have those conversations at age appropriate levels. It needs to happen again in 9th grade and 10th grade and 11th grade. They need to hear it consistently. Underage drinking is illegal. It's not okay. And they need to hear it from all of the parents and all of the adults in their life. We asked the students on the Illinois Youth Survey in the past year, have your parents or guardians talked to you about not using alcohol or marijuana? As you can see in 8th grade, still not a lot having that conversation, only about half. And as they get older, even less than half of the parents are having that conversation. It needs to be ongoing, and it needs to come from you. Parent monitoring, we talked a little bit about that. Officer Ring talked a little bit about that with social media. It's your job. It's okay to know where they are. You're not creeping on them. It's your job. And you need to know where they are. We get complacent sometimes with the cell phones because we can get a hold of them. We still need to know where they are physically. I'm not suggesting you follow them in your car or hide in the bushes, but just where are you going? Who are you with? Are there going to be parents there? That sends the message to your child that A, you're paying attention, and B, you care. They want you to know where they are. They want you to know that you're interested in what they're doing. And they also want to have you as the excuse to help them get out of a difficult situation. If they're with friends who make a suggestion that they go somewhere that you wouldn't approve of or you don't know of, they can blame you. My parents won't let me. I need to check in with my parents. Whatever that needs to be. But it's okay for you to know where they are. It's not only okay, it's your responsibility. One of the questions we ask on the survey is, when I'm not home, one of my parents or guardians knows where I am and who I'm with. About 3/4 of the 8th graders said yes, that their parents always knew, and about 40% of the 12th graders said that their parents knew. I realize that as they get older, they're a little more independent, but it's still okay to know where they are and who they're with. Even when my kids were in college, when they were home on break, I still knew where they were and who they were with. One of the other important things is, as they become more independent, their peers become a bigger piece of their lives. But sometimes their peers are making decisions that are different than the ones that you would like for your child to make. It's important that we help our kids to make those decisions that help them get out of peer pressure situations. We have some materials that are strategies to help deal with peer pressure. There's 10 strategies on our sheet, but there's probably lots more. It's important that you talk to your kids about those before they actually need them, and practice them before they actually need them. They have to actually do some role playing, because they're not going to go out cold and then all of a sudden they're going to face a difficult situation and they'll just know what to do. We don't even know what to do sometimes as adults. So it's important that we recognize that we need to guide our kids as they're navigating this new independence that they're developing at this level. Lots of talking. Any questions? All of our materials are on our website. We have years worth of materials, so you can go back and check topics from previous years and see if there's something that's of interest to you. We are happy to answer any questions. You can contact us. Our contact information is on every piece of material that goes home for you, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have at any time. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you so much. As I mentioned, we had a live coming to present, but her daughter got sick, so she could not come. So feel free to check out the website. It's got a lot of information, of really cool resources, a lot of small groups. There's